Do you read books? Do you live by small bodies of water surrounded by trees and other wildlife? Is that geese shit? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, you have found a home here at the Brook Reading Podcast. Each week, I read a book while nestled in my small New Jersey apartment and gaze out the window at a brook. Then I jump online, talk about it, ask for your opinions, and bitch about something for approximately 5 minutes. If you would like to join this madness, check out the Brook Reading Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, or on the Radio Public app. Let's step into some animal feces together.
Welcome to Victims and Villains. This is the channel where we talk nerd, we talk hope, and we speak nothing else. I'm your host, Captain Nostalgia, and I'm so glad that you are here to join us.
Victims and Villains is a podcast and YouTube channel that marries pop culture and suicide prevention, producing content with the intent to let people know that there is hope and that there is a better way, and that each and every listener has value and worth.
Listen to Victims and Villains on your favorite podcast catcher or on YouTube by searching for Victims and Villains. Also, check out their website, victimsandvillains.net.
Shirt. Please! Stop! Please! I think I'm bleeding. Please.
Oh my god, it's period blood.
I think I'm dying. Oh my god. Please help me!
It's just your period.
Please, plug it up. Help me! Oh god. Help me! Plug it up!
This is the emergency podcast system. This is not a test. Movies are bombing all over the country. They are posing as movies you already know. They may already be in your theaters, your neighbor's home, or even your own. Do not panic. Specialists have been dispatched. They will help you identify these pretenders and defend you against this invasion of the remake. Please stand by for further instructions.
Welcome to the Invasion of the Remake podcast. I'm your host, Jason Bishop, and today we're going to be talking about Stephen King classic Carrie with Trish Conklin.
Hey, everybody.
Unfortunately, Sam couldn't make it today, but...
he was at prom and he didn't make it.
Yeah, he was... It wasn't good. He got bisected by bleachers.
I know.
That's what happens when you're lying down on him.
It's terrifying. But, at his age, should he be going to prom?
Chaperoning.
Honestly, dude. Just stay away from proms.
This month we're going to be talking about women in horror. It is the 10th anniversary of Women in Horror, which is an annual blood drive. So we're going to be talking about all the favorite women in horror that make us scream and terror, and directors and actors, and it's going to be fun. This is our second episode, and if you also into women in horror, do us a favor. Go to your local.
Go to your blood services.
Go to blood services and give. You could save a life.
Exactly. They're all over the place. Go to your local your healthcare system will tell you where to give blood.
Yeah, the American Red Cross, Canadian Red Cross. Go out there and you might be able to save a life.
Absolutely.
And of course, why not watch some movies with us and celebrate women in horror? You can also follow other podcasts that are also getting involved. # All the Horror, @ at allthehorror18. We'll tell you where a lot of these are dropping and when they're dropping. And you can also follow the hashtag WIHMX for the 10 for other Women in Horror events as well. So make sure you follow all the good stuff over on Twitter.
Yeah, and speaking of which, speaking of blood, what an accurate movie to be doing for a blood drive that we have chosen.
Absolutely. Lots of blood in this one. And if you want to learn more about the book, we're going to be focusing on the 1976 and the 2013 remake. We're going to be skipping over the 2002 TV movie, but we might bring up a little bit about that. And if you want to learn more about the book, go check out Melissa on the Brooke Reading Podcast, and she's going to be talking about the book Carrie for her Women in Horror special.
Excellent. And it's got an amazing backstory to it. This book might not have been.
Yeah, this book was Stephen's first published novel. He was lucky to get it out there. He actually didn't think anybody would even pick it up.
Well, I think, wasn't it, he was going to turf it, and his wife is like, no, this is good. We must put this out there. Yeah,
just think how the world would change. I mean, he sold the film rights, and his first novel became his first movie adaptation, and he sold the film rights for $2,500, so it seems measly in comparison, but he doesn't feel bad about that at all, because where would his career have been without it?
Well, absolutely. I think he still would have done good. It just wouldn't have been his first one.
But for that to happen to his first novel right away, it made him a household name.
It's amazing. And now we've got Stephen King movies, they're hard adaptations, and not all of them really kind of land. But no matter what, even a bad Stephen King adaptation movie is still pretty good. I always enjoy them.
And that's just it. Even though the bad adaptations are still enjoyable, because there's that Stephen King kind of, if you do at least an adaptation, even a bad one, the Stephen King stuff still comes through, and it's usually pretty entertaining despite maybe the misfire. But this was not a misfire.
No.
The original 1976 had a budget of $1.8 million.
Wow.
Which originally was 1.5, and the director Brian De Palma was able to get a few more bucks into it, but a fairly low budgeted adaptation, which meant some of the stuff from the book had to hit the cutting room floor. But it went on to gross in the US alone $33.8 million.
Huge
which is
hit.
big hit. Stephen King, no stranger to the show. We've talked about another Stephen King movie back in episode 96 when he wrote under the name Richard Bachman.
Oh my god. Oh, I should know this one. What's wrong with me? Damn it. I was concentrating on the people who are in other movies you've done, and that's what I came with.
See what I'm doing with my arms?
Running Man?
That's the one.
There we go. Awesome.
This got a Rotten Tomatoes score of 93 critic score and a 77% audience score, with IMDb rating it a 7.4 out of 10. The screenplay was written by Lawrence D. Cohen, who went on to do lots of other Stephen King adaptations, including It, The Tommyknockers, Nightmares and Dreamscapes, a lot of the TV stuff. And we've actually talked about Lawrence before, way back in episode 33 when we did Ghost Story.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, I got connections up the wazoo here.
I have the people connections. A lot of the people connections.
Oh, look at you. You're making up for Sam not being here.
I have a number of the people connections. Not all of them, probably, but I have a number of them.
The original Carrie stars Sissy Spacek, and you should know who she is. Star of JFK, and she's in the current Castle Rock series.
Yes. Doing an amazing job. And kind of really encompassing one of the most horrific things that could just generally happen, just to lose your mind and get dementia.
Piper Laurie, who had basically been retired before this film, she hadn't been on screen for almost 15 years before she picked up this role as Carrie's mother, probably most famous for her recurring role on Twin Peaks after that. So this movie Carrie was basically responsible for bringing Piper Laurie back into acting.
And thank God, she is so good in this. She brings the psycho in a way I've not seen.
It's funny because she basically took the role because she thought it was a comedy, and it took a lot of convincing to tell her it wasn't, because she read the script and it was her character was so over the top, and she thought it was kind of ridiculous that she was convinced that this movie was a comedy.
Well, I don't know, even if she was wrong, she figured it out.
Yeah.
She knew how you had to attack this character.
I mean, both her and Sissy Spacek got Oscar nominations.
Absolutely.
Which is incredible. Amy Irving, I mentioned her briefly in our 31 Days of Horror episode back in October when I watched The Fury. She was originally supposed to play Carrie in this movie. Sissy Spacek had a commercial she was going to get paid 10 grand for, and basically the director says, well, you know, you should do that, because he was pretty much settled in his mind. That just pissed off Sissy. So she went and greased up her hair and
She
didn't
put Vaseline on her hair.
Yeah.
That's gross, and that's real commitment, because you can't get that shit out.
Yeah, some old costume her mom made that was kind of all tattered, and she went in and just blew it away, and then, of course, De Palma wound up having to reshuffle the cast.
Well, there you go.
So Amy Irving wound up playing Sue in this movie, which was originally supposed to go to their Chris, which was Nancy Allen.
Oh, wow. They really did do a shuffle.
Yeah. Well, Nancy was the last one to come in on this, too. John Travolta makes his feature film debut on this. He kind of did this on the side. He was still on Welcome Back, Kotter at the time. And
I don't think he broke character coming to this movie. And I was watching Where the Others Went Home.
He showed up into his audition in his Welcome Back, Kotter outfit.
And he looks it. Like, I don't think I think he's told her a fake name. I think he is Vinny Tuscadero. No, what's his
Yeah, I think you're right.
Vinny Tuscadero?
I think it was Vinny.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. I don't have to tell you the credits for John Travolta these days, but William Catt plays Tommy Ross. Whew, what was up with his hair? We talked about William Catt.
It was glorious.
Wasn't it? It was...
I am
There's this
envious.
big blonde poodle that died on his head.
Well, but think about it this way. When I was watching him and Amy Irving next to each other on the couch, I'm like, if they had a kid, like, the size of the kid's head wouldn't be her problem. It would be all the hair that would have to get out with the child. Like, this kid would have an enormous head of hair. It would have been amazing.
Oh my God. It was like a blonde nuke went off on his head. We talked about William Catt way back in episode 65, which was...
House.
Absolutely. Of course, I just mentioned Nancy Allen. We talked about her in episode 132.
Oh, that one I didn't remember.
Really? RoboCop.
Ah, damn it. I was like, I knew I'd miss one.
That's the most obvious one.
I know. Well, no. See, to me, there's the more obvious one.
Well, we got Betty Buckley here as Miss Collins, the coach. You can see her right now on Preacher as a regular grandma, and she was recently in Split as well. Of course, our next one, no stranger to us. We talked about her in episode 59, PJ Souls.
Halloween. And also our Halloween special where we went to HorrorCon.
That's right. We actually have an interview with PJ Souls in our HorrorCon special from last year.
One of the most delightful women. Someone I want to grow up to be someday. She was an absolute delight, and I treasure the few moments we had to chat with her. Priscilla Pointer from Blue Velvet is the mother, Miss Snell, and it's funny, Priscilla Pointer is the real-life mother of Amy Irving, who plays Sue Snell. Really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that bit. That's new news.
Sydney Lassick, we talked about, well, me and Sam talked about, because you were MIA.
Yeah.
Were you MIA on this one?
No.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
No, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Were there
I was in
that.
Halifax.
Oh, you that's
I
right.
Skyped in
you
on
were
that one.
MIA kind of, but yeah, you Skyped in.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were talking about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in episode 54, where we had a terrible misjudgment of trying to remake that film.
It's our horror.
Yes, but with hilarious consequences. Stefan Girash was Mr. Morton. You can see him in High Plains Drifter. Michael Talbot played Freddy. We talked about him way back in episode 12 in the Jeff years.
12 in the Jeff years.
Yeah, it's a very popular episode for us as well, shockingly.
Logan's Run or Gone in 60 Seconds?
No, it is Used Cars, but you were on the right track.
I'm with cars. I knew there were
really
cars.
were.
It's so weird.
Doug Cox is also in this, and there is a you will never spot her, Edie McClure in this.
I did.
You did?
Edie McClure.
You were the only one out of the three of us. I was texting back and forth with Sam, and we've mentioned her before. I'm trying to remember what episode that was in. Cat People, I think.
Oh, it might have been Cat People, or I'm trying to remember. I know we were making reference to it in the episode about her role in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah, I think it was an unusual, like a dramatic movie that she was in.
Yeah, it seemed strange that she was there.
Yeah, but yeah, so Eden McClure is in this as Helen as well, really young, fresh-faced. But everybody's young and fresh-faced in this. I was actually surprised because, especially with Nancy Allen, because I remember from RoboCop, and I'm like, well, you know, she's a good lead in that, whatever, but she's kind of had a rounder face, and I've never thought of her as cute, and then I saw her in this one, I'm like, whoa, she had it going on in her 20s.
See, I still thought she did in RoboCop. It was sort of like she seemed, like I say, she'd sort of become more womanly, but she still looked pretty good considering how much time was in between those two movies.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And she almost was going to leave acting at this point. I think she just wasn't having a lot of luck finding roles. I don't know what was prompting that, but then she got this part, and look at that. I mean, we might not have had her in RoboCop if
she
it hadn't
threw
been for
herself
Carrie.
into it.
Yeah. Carrie actually shares a lot of casting decisions. It was casted at the same time as Star Wars because they were shooting kind of in the same studio together. So they were casting both the movies simultaneously. So a lot of people who were cast in Star Wars and Carrie had done reads for both films. So it's funny to think about, like, the people in this movie who might have read for Princess Leia and what might have happened there. I think Sissy Spacek was like the third choice for Princess Leia.
Well, and I think Amy Irving was also on that list.
She was.
And I think it's sort of one of the things, I think those two directors were actually communicating at the time.
Oh, sure.
Like, oh, I want this person.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of mix and match happening there for sure. Absolutely. And I mean, you think, I know William Catt was supposed to be Luke Skywalker at one point. Like, he did a read for it. I don't know if he was supposed to be, but he definitely did a read for it. And I can kind of see it. I don't know if Star Wars would have been as good.
No.
But I mean, part of what makes that work is that whiny performance that we get out of
the immaturity
Mark
is what you need. He's a bit too mature looking to pull it off.
Everybody in Carrie feels too old, but I mean, most of these people were in their early to mid 20s in some kind. I mean, the coach is only 3 years older than the oldest teenage, quote unquote, teenager in this movie.
Yep.
So I thought she looked too young. Whereas at least the remake tried to cast people a little closer to the age. I mean, Chloe Moretz had just, I think, 15, 16. I think she turned 16 on the set.
I think so, yeah.
So
I know, it's a weird thing. And I was thinking about this when we were watching Slumber Party Massacre, and I didn't mention it. I miss the old days where, like, the teenagers just look like they're old. I don't know why I enjoy that. It's sort of like, there's no way these people are teenagers. They're thinking about their taxes when they're not on set. Like, this is what's happening.
Yeah, and I was watching the movie as much as I enjoyed it. I'm like, boy, some of these girls look like they've been out of high school quite a long time.
They've got mortgages, a whole bunch of stuff going on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most of them were married and stuff at that time too.
Right.
So. I think was it Amy Irving who wound up marrying Brian De Palma?
Oh, wasn't it Spielberg?
Oh, somebody on this set wound up marrying Spielberg, and another one wound up marrying De Palma.
Oh, I don't remember who married who.
Yeah,
I seem to think Irving is Spielberg, though, but I could be wrong.
You could be right. I don't care.
I know it doesn't matter to me. I'm like, I don't get. I'm more interested in their work in these movies.
Exactly. I mean, this movie, it's probably the ultimate coming of age horror story. You know, it's not just about becoming a woman. The Power is also an allegory for that. There's actually a cutscene that from both films that I'm glad they cut. It takes place when Carrie's about 5, and there's a neighbor tanning in the backyard, and Carrie's like, "Oh, I can see your dirty pillows." And Mom comes out, grabs her. "I told her never to talk to her," and pulls Carrie away. "Oh, she's nice," and then it starts raining stones in the yard. I think it does the story a disservice if you would have kept it in there, because she doesn't come into her power until her period happens, this big change in her body. Well, I think that mirrors the story really well.
It really does. And as well, when we talk about coming into your power, I seem to remember from at least the first iteration of the X-Men movies, where it's like these changes come on usually in puberty.
Yeah.
So it's a becoming, it's a transformation. And also I think it's also an allegory for her gaining independence from a parental figure.
Yeah.
Coming into more of an adult.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in the novel, and I wish Sam was here for that because he's probably read it. But I do seem to think this winds up recurring a lot in other Stephen King movies. Mist comes up in my mind with the fanatical religious figure.
Oh, for sure. There's that. There's Needful Things as a whole thing.
Yeah.
With the two religious leaders.
You know, it's something that seems to come up a lot in this distrust of fanatical religious themes.
It's one of those things where it's sort of...
I think Stephen's got a distrust of organized religion in general.
Honestly, I totally get it. Like, there's so many people who are like, oh yeah, no, I'm righteous and I'm going to heaven, but they'll treat everybody in their path like fucking shit because they think they're right. And that's just not...
Yeah, that narrow-mindedness... It leads to like, well, if you think you're being a good person, but you're causing all this evil in the world, and
Westboro Baptist Church exists, so let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, and that's exactly who Margaret White is. She's a borderline sociopath. I mean, she's making up passages from the Bible that don't exist. Like most of what she's quoting that sounds biblical is complete bullshit.
Absolutely,
just to create this paranoia within her household. And her own daughter, who's completely out of touch with the world.
Yeah, well...
She has no idea what her period is. I mean, in the remake, her mom treats her daughter as if she was a cancer.
Yep. But at least in the remake, what I did like what they added was Carrie's in school because the state finally decided, no, you're not doing your job. You can't homeschool her anymore. She has to have an education.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we were discussing this a little beforehand. I'm like, having your period is terrible enough. Not knowing what's happening is bad. Knowing doesn't make it any better. It's still shitty.
Yeah, it's too bad Sam. I think Sam sensed I was going to do something today because I was going to go, so Sam, do you remember when you had your first period?
Oh, mine was fun. It was on my birthday.
Oh, was it?
Yep.
Wow, talk about like hitting puberty on the nose.
I did. I'm like, yeah, no, wait, no, it was the month. It was exactly a month after my birthday. Sorry. I remember it being like, okay, hit 12. Boom. We're going to do this. It was like there was a timer and it just went off. But again, doesn't make it any easier. You're like, shit. This is what I'm looking forward to for like decades now.
Was it as freaky for you? I mean, I guess you weren't in a public setting, but
no.
I mean, it's almost nightmarish for her. Like she got hit by a truck.
And that's like a lot out the gate. Like I remember it not being like she's covered in blood. That's not right. I mean, maybe like the second date, but also cramp. Like she would have felt some sort of cramps because I felt discomfort even before then.
Yeah.
So I knew something was happening, but I don't know. It's not. I don't know. It's a weird thing with the period thing. They try to treat it like, oh yeah, no, she doesn't know, and that's a problem. And everybody knows about periods, but at the same time, there are all these people who are like kind of reacting like the principal when he sees like the blood on the gym teacher's shorts freaks out a bit, and I'm like,
yeah, because it's one of those things guys don't want to acknowledge. It's kind of gross, and
yeah, but
they just don't want to think about it. And I actually appreciated the uncomfortableness of it.
See, yeah.
Even though the period scene is like, this is obviously a period written by a man who doesn't know how periods work.
No. There's like you feel different before anything happens.
Yeah.
Like, and you're in pain well before that blood part.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, trust me, there's been times where I felt like I was dying, but not because I knew I was dying. I just thought I was.
And that at least carries over to Carrie. And I think that is a good spot to play the 1976 trailer. And we'll get into both films here shortly.
It's the night of the senior prom. The Bates High School gym is alive with excitement. And everybody is there. Even Carrie White. The girl no one likes.
Oh, sorry about this incident, Cassie.
It's Carrie!
And everyone makes fun of her. The girl who lives in that creepy house with her crazy mother.
Help
help the sinny woman see the sin of her days and ways. Show her that if she had remained sinless, the curse of blood would never have come on her.
The girl with the strange power.
If I concentrate hard enough, I can move things.
But tonight, no one will laugh at Carrie.
You don't have a date to the prom next Friday. Would you like to go with me?
She's with the best-looking boy in the senior class.
He's trying to trick me again.
She'll be voted queen of the prom.
You know, I can make sure that you don't hurt Carrie White anymore.
For Carrie, it will be a dream come true. For everyone else, it will be a nightmare. Carrie. New film by Brian De Palma. Based on the chilling bestseller. Starring Sissy Spacek, Piper Laurie, and introducing John Travolta in his first motion picture role. If you have a taste for terror, you have a date with Carrie.
All right, that was Carrie, 1976.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't seen Carrie like I hadn't before this, I highly recommend that you do.
It's really good. I think I'd heard about it and I had to go see it, and I was scouring my local video store to just try and get a hold of it.
Yeah, I mean, I was way too young when I was a kid to see this, and you know what? Right away, within the first 30 seconds, I was very surprised about was all the nudity.
Yes.
That Brian De Palma chose to put in this film. I mean, for they're supposed to be high school girls, and I'm like, is this integral to the plot? Do we really need to see all this nudity?
There's two things.
I mean, it's non-sexual, but
there's two things about it. I've been in locker rooms. I don't believe that playful I'm half naked thing really happens. We didn't have it.
No.
I took gym.
Yeah, it never happened. Everybody was modest enough. Most of the people didn't wind up even using the showers until they got home. Like, I don't give a shit if I stink in school.
And
you just came from phys ed,
right?
Everybody knows you just came from phys ed,
and it's more along the line. And plus, sometimes you don't have time in between periods.
No, they never give you enough time to get to the next class. Usually,
no, and I mean. Yeah.
Maybe back in 76 they did.
Maybe in 76, because you're trying to I don't know. my experience of it, I always had problems. We were discussing the period and anorexia earlier. I always had body problems, so covering up was of utmost importance.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't show anybody your body because it never looked right to you.
I don't know. I guess probably most people did that. I'd go swimming and then you change out of your shorts and you'd get into your clothes as quickly as possible.
Absolutely.
You cover up as long as you can.
Well, and because honestly, here's part of it too. 9/10 of these movies I'm watching, I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to look like. None of this matches. Obviously, I'm just a garbage monster. I must keep everything.
Yeah, in the novel, I guess Carrie's actually a little larger. She's pimples, and that was something where Brian De Palma made this change where it's she'd be pretty if she put a little effort into it, kind of thing. Well,
no, he did the movie thing where they're like, oh, she's super hot, but then she removes her glasses and then, oh, wow, that's all it takes.
Yeah.
There's what did I was watching a show, there's regular ugly and movie ugly, and movie ugly is not ugly at all.
Well, I mean, I think Sissy Spacek kind of has that in between. Depending on what you do with her, she can come off either way. Whereas Chloe Moretz just has a natural cuteness to her that I'm like,
oh, she's beautiful.
I don't think anybody would have thought she was ugly.
No, but I mean, I think,
believe it or not, it's Megan Fox at one point wanted to play Carrie. I'm like, no, you would have been Chris.
You can't do it. You're Chris or Sue. You are not Carrie. But you're right. It's sort of Chloe Moretz. I think that's why they sort of leaned into the fact that she was just weird more than unattractive, because they're like, there's no fucking way people are going to believe that she's ugly. So we have to make her weird.
Well, they hide her under her hair, and she kind of walks with a bit of a hunch, and her shoulders all tucked in to make her look very introverted.
Yeah,
with interactions.
Yeah, and ultimately, that's part of the character. She's an outsider completely.
Yeah, and as she starts realizing her power and starting to become more confident in its abilities, her outward appearance also starts to change as well, and her stature and starts to change.
It's very The Craft.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of movies owe a lot to Carrie. I mean, we've seen either spoofs of it or references into all sorts of shows, and there were lots of little pretenders on this theme of the nebbish kid who kind of comes into their own. It doesn't always have to be a supernatural story, but they certainly have it.
It's so strange. Like, it's sort of like a trope where like the ugly duckling just becomes that swan, and I'm like going, yeah, that never happens in high school. You don't become the person you really are, I think, until well after that.
Yeah, for sure.
Because high school is just basically a lot of cruelty with a side of education.
It's true. Kids can be pretty shitty to each other. Yeah, happened in my high school as well. People bullied me, and I'll firmly admit I wasn't the nicest kid either at times, and with a lot of regret because of it. But
and they do. That's actually another thing that's also great about this movie is you have William Catt.
Yeah.
And I think they do actually write a line to this in the remake, where he's not essentially a bad guy, but it's sort of that he feels he has to perform this role, which can make sort of assholery happen. The same with Sue. You have to perform.
Sue initially got caught up in the bullying when the period happens. They're all laughing at her. It's like, what are you freaking out about? And I mean, poor Carrie had no understanding of what was happening to her. And of course it's terrifying.
This is why sex education matters.
Yes. And as the bullying increased, her uncomfortableness with it also increased. There's this regret that winds up changing her path. She's very much was looking forward to the prom. She's organizing it. She's putting it together. She's got her date and Tommy.
Yep.
And for her own self-penance, she decides not to go and says, give her a magical moment, says Tommy, take her. Because Tommy doesn't have any problems with Carrie at all.
No.
In fact, he kind of backs her up in class.
Yeah.
You know, his poem's being read out and she defends it, and they flip that a bit in the remake, but that's fine. It still worked.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, he didn't write, but I mean, also the teacher was being a bit of a dick. He's like, that's hardly a criticism. Oh, I'm sorry. The whole point was we're supposed to pile on to the poem. We can't say anything nice.
Yeah.
Maybe glasses better get his shit together.
And it was like, teacher was being an asshole, and I like how he just calls him that and then covers it up.
Yeah.
Everybody heard it once. That's good enough.
Yeah. But with Sue, what I also like is she's like, it's prom, and if I don't go, I don't go. Like, this is the whole thing I kind of was also thinking about was watching this movie, why people are so upset they can't go to prom.
Yeah.
I
couldn't wait to get away from prom.
Right? If you think that this is going to be the apex point in your movie, ooh, sad life, bro. Sad life.
Although it is. It's the apex in this movie.
It is. It's true.
But for us as an audience.
For us as an audience, yes. But in regular life, if you think that this is going to be the most magical night of your life, oh, that's going to be so rough. Life is going to be tough for you.
It's the start of the next 3 to 5 years of partying. Some people never get out of that. So,
and it's the start of like life outside when you actually become an adult. And if you think there's no better experiences beyond that, that's just sad.
Yeah, of course there is. But I mean, you know, when you're that age, nothing's better than the first thing that's in front of you. So,
I guess maybe, yeah. I guess I was the nerdy outsider. I guess I just had to say this because it makes more sense to me.
Yeah, well, when I was in high school, I was very much comfortable in my own skin, and I was already well over the whole clique thing, and I was just ahead of everybody. And I'm like, I didn't need it. I had my circle of friends, and I'm like, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I don't need to see you at this thing.
Nice.
I picked up my diploma and then went on vacation.
Oh my God.
I was literally out the door. I didn't even see everybody else get their diplomas.
That's awesome.
I grabbed my piece of paper, dropped my robe behind me, and I was out of there.
Had to give a speech, so I was kind of locked in.
I was a B, so I was like really early and got out of there. We were like literally in the car on our way to vacation right after we got our piece of
Maybe
paper.
you're Sue and I'm Tommy.
So
Sue doesn't care, but Tommy has to.
So when
say
it comes down to it, the pig's blood and the burning and the electrocution, I missed it all. I would have survived this experience.
You absolutely would have.
That's why the nerds rule the earth, because everybody else died at their prom.
Well, just in this movie. Apparently, every other subsequent movie, it's when they lose their virginity or have all sorts of hijinks.
You don't have to wait to prom to do that.
Right? Right.
Just saying. There are other opportunities.
If you think that has to be the night you do it, really?
They show it in the remake. Sue's having
She's
sex.
already
She's
fucking.
already fucking, and so's Chris, actually.
Yeah.
Let's get to that.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
The one thing that really bugs me about this original
And
movie,
I'm totally with you on it.
when she's manipulating her boyfriend, and I mean, she's playing come here, get away, come here, get away,
Which is dumb
which was
as
really
shit.
pissing me off.
Well, there was one bit where I thought the reason she did it is because you a kiss where he just goes right in for the hard tit grab. Yeah, that would be a fuck off moment for me. But I think they covered that up a bit too much. If they played to that, I would have gotten it.
Or in the original, she's more the one in control.
Yeah,
where,
she's more manipulative.
Yeah, where it feels like Billy is the one coming up with the really mean ideas. I mean, they still play to that stupid shit thing that he hated, and that would fire off. And I think they did that because they like to be antagonistic to each other.
Yeah.
And it's got them turned on. But there's a scene where she starts crawling down his body. Her hands are up on his chest, and we're supposed to believe she's giving him head while having a full conversation with him.
You can't say, okay, invaders, here's your goal, here's your task. Eat a corn dog and try to say Billy. If it's not clear, you will know why we're having a problem.
Yeah, like she's, the whole
There's
scene,
no enunciation when that happens.
No, it's not like it sounds like she's got something stuck in her mouth. It is clearly she's speaking normally,
when
as
Billy
if nothing's
says,
down her throat.
When Billy says who, what it should have been is him saying, what? Wait, I don't understand anything you're saying.
This? And maybe if we've established that she had this amazing ventriloquism skill, I would have been all over that. I would have been fine. Like, okay.
You know what? And I would have loved to have seen it where she's like drinking the beer and says, you stupid fuck. And she's like, I didn't say it. That voice is in your head, Billy.
That was Norma.
Are you hearing things, Billy? Are you okay?
Are the pigs talking to you?
Yes. Oh, the pigs. Both scenes with the pigs, I was like going, God, they're psychopaths. Like,
they are. They went and murdered an animal.
That's killing animals is what they look for as a pattern for people who grow up to murder people. That's basically one thing that happens for all of them.
Yeah, and I mean, that was something that I think was carefully crafted for this film, and both films for that matter, is when Carrie gets what I call Carrie rage scene. When she gets her rage on, how do you still stay on board with her with what she's doing? And it's mass murder is what's happening here with Carrie's revenge, and still being on her side. It's a tough tightrope to walk, right?
See, I don't know. There's two parts of that where it's she's been fed the line, like, they're all going to laugh at you, they're all going to make fun of you, blah, blah, blah. What's happened is this has come to fruition. Now, what I'm also looking at is, like, in kind of all of the iterations, the second one, they play it down a bit. But in the first one, it's definitely all these people laughing at someone who's had blood poured on them. Okay, maybe Kool-Aid or whipped cream or something. Yes, that is funny. But fucking blood?
Yeah.
That's gross and disgusting. If you're laughing at that, you're garbage.
I mean,
so I don't give a shit about you.
For dumb shit Billy in the remake, he's smart enough to say, this is felony assault, you keep your fucking mouth shut.
Yeah. yeah, I don't know. That new Billy. And then poor Tommy gets the bucket to the head and
yeah, and the remake is the first time they even acknowledge the fact that the bucket falling on his head killed him.
What was it? The Home Alone, that guy who said, like, what should have killed the bandits, the wet bandits, each time, and it's the bucket to the head with that much.
I mean, that also feeds Carrie's rage for sure. But
absolutely.
I mean,
the first one they don't make clear.
No, the first one I wasn't clear. I'm like, did that just? Because I even in my notes, so I'm like, oh, he got knocked unconscious by the bucket. and then
Exactly.
died in the fire.
That's what I sort of thought.
She just left him behind. So if they had done that scene where she checks on him, it would have been more clear for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was sort of the one thing that's missing. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the other thing, too, like, if you're at a place, somebody's poured pig's blood on you, and they've basically killed somebody that you're there with who's been nice to you, of course you're going to lose your shit. And they're laughing at you, too. Yeah, you're going to fucking lose your shit.
Well, it's interesting because when it happens, the audience is just stunned.
Mm.
It actually isn't until the bucket kills Tommy until people start laughing because they think it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
They obviously wouldn't have thought it was funny if they realized he was lying there dead.
Oh, no. See, I thought they were laughing before that bucket hits him.
Well, I think one starts it's
They
like
are
that
laughing
wave.
before that bucket happens.
Yeah, there's the wave of laughter starts with actually PJ Souls in
Yeah.
a red hat. She's the one that kind of kicks
She's
it off.
always in red. She was
actually only supposed to be a bit part, but she had the red hat and she did that little flick with
Yeah.
the hat at the end of the volleyball game, and then Brian De Palma just fell in love with her, and she's like, "All right, we're gonna give you more."
And he was right to do so.
Yeah.
She may have been a jerk in this movie, but she was. You can't stop watching her.
And actually, Helen Edie McClure
Yep.
had no lines in this movie until she just made up her own shit, and
that's awesome.
De Palma liked it, so let her roll with it.
Exactly. It made more sense. Like, I mean, I like the fact that now they had lines. This clique seemed a little bit more filled out.
Yeah,
Which was
I think
better.
is important. The remake from 2013 by Kimberly Pierce, who directed Stop Loss and Boys Don't Cry.
Nice.
Didn't fare so well critically. It had an IMDb score of 5.9 out of 10 and a Rotten Tomatoes score of only a 49% critic score and 44% audience score. The screenplay was by Roberto Aguirre Sacasa. I'm very familiar with him. He's written a bunch of comic book stuff and he's developed a lot of TV shows. He is the showrunners for The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on Netflix, Riverdale, and he's also written a lot of Supergirl episodes as well. No stranger to
He
comic
knows
book
darkness in high school.
stuff. He does. So I was kind of surprised to see his name on this. This movie was budgeted at $30 million and grossed just under $84.8 million worldwide.
So profitable.
Well, not a huge success.
But you said double and then more. You're still doing okay.
A little over double, so that's not bad. It's not a huge success, but I think that's a fairly decent
33,
outing.
66, and then you add another 12. So like,
some of the bigger budget movies have to triple their money because
it's
of
2.5. But I mean, I don't think this is not the type of movie that has to triple.
No. And I think that rating score is a little unfair. Like, okay, yeah, she's not Brian De Palma, but I mean, Boys Don't Cry was nominated for Oscars.
Yeah.
I mean, she's good director, and she made some interesting choices with this film.
She made some.
There's the imagery that De Palma brings to the film that I think is really powerful, especially with the biblical stuff when mom gets skewered, and it was foreshadowed by the saints within the closet.
Jesus.
No, that wasn't
Jesus.
Jesus. No, I
Well,
can't
then
remember
why is it
who it
in the
was.
cross, Jake?
I don't. I read it wasn't supposed to be Jesus.
It,
was
to me, it
another-
looked like Alice Cooper. That's what
it
I
was
just
another.
read.
It was this. I wrote it as Jesus, and I read otherwise. But
Alice Cooper on the cross. is what it looked like.
there you go. And who's impaled while being crucified, and I think it cleverly foreshadows the mother's death. And which I really appreciated. And then that when the house collapses,
that's amazing,
through the godly shower of stones, although it doesn't really show on the screen. I think that's supposed to happen. And then the house is just collapsing around Carrie. This for sale sign that looks like a cross on the lot with Carrie White rots in hell.
Absolutely.
Burns in hell.
On for sale. Yeah.
On the for sale sign. But it looks like a cross, and I really liked the subtext of all of that. That even then he still put that religious iconography in that thing where they just went straight for the gravestone in the remake.
I didn't mind. There's a bunch of stuff that I liked that she did, which I felt improved the film. Like we said, making sure that we know that the bucket killed Tommy, and that's a concern. Also, I think she also sped up when I watched the original Carrie and the thing with the pig's blood, and then there's like everybody's clapping, and it seems to me it's too long. It's much too long.
Well,
you need to speed up that bit because I get so bored halfway through that
the experimental screen split that happens in the De Palma movie. I mean, I think that's after the blood spill. But when she starts shutting the doors and stuff, he tried to use that a little bit more in the film, and none of it really worked. So he just went to their individual sequences. And I think she was trying to do something similar, and she just kept repeating the bucket drop, and I didn't like that.
I didn't like that, but I will say, like, when Carrie wins, between the time when Carrie wins and when she gets up on the stage and gets hit with the pig's blood in the De Palma movie, too long. Way too long.
Yeah.
Like, I check out a bit every time I see it. Because I'm like, I'll just wait for the pig's blood. But this one, she sped that point up, which I appreciated because I'm like, yeah, I like that a little bit better.
Of course, like I said, this is directed by Kimberly Pierce. It stars Chloe Grace Moretz as Carrie, and we talked about her in episode 28.
Let the Right One In?
Yeah, let me in. Let the right one in. She was in Let Me In the remake. Julianne Moore is her mother, Margaret Weitz, who's gotten lots of acclaim recently in things like Still Alice and the Hours. Gabrielle Wilde from Three Musketeers and model is Sue Snell. Zoe Belkin from Degrassi, not the only person from Degrassi.
Oh, wow.
It plays Tina. Portia Doubleday, who can be seen on Mr. Robot,
yes,
is Chris. Samantha Weinstein is Heather. She was in The Rocker. Carissa Stain is Nikki. Katie Strain as Lizzie. They were the twins that get trampled.
Yep.
Ansel Elgort makes his feature film debut, and of course he's most famous for Baby Driver these days. Demetrius Joyette plays George Dawson, also from Degrassi. Judy Greer, who's from Ant-Man and Jurassic World.
Yeah.
Some big hits.
She has an amazing IMDb. Look at it. It's amazing. The woman works all the time, and she's always so good.
Yeah, she plays the coach. In this, she's renamed back to the novel version of Miss Desjardins. Which is why it was Miss Collins in the original, because it's fucking hard to say. Barry Shabaka Henley was the principal, and he was in the Terminal and Rush Hour. Alex Russell was Billy Nolan, and Cynthia Preston was Eleanor Snell. Sam had actually sent me a text because he found a connection in the remake with the composer. The original composer from the original film was supposed to be the composer of Psycho.
Oh, wow.
And the new composer, because there was a musical cue that they wanted, and Psycho had the original cue that they were looking for, they just used it over and over again in the film. But the composer for the remake was Marco Beltrami, who did The Omen from 2006, and a couple weeks ago, Flight of the Phoenix remake.
Wow.
And we also talked about 3:10 to Yuma a while back as well. So he just wanted to try to outdo me, and then he couldn't be here today. So because I don't look at the composers often.
True.
Because, he texted me, and he's like, I found 7 connections. Well, and I'm like, I have 8.
Once I
so
see,
he did more digging.
Once I see, like, sort of, with composers, though, if I'm really interested to look at it, usually when I'm listening or watching a movie, I'm like, oh, this is Angelo Badalamenti. And I know I can tell when it's him. Like, certain composers, you know who they are.
Yeah.
And so that's when I dig, but I don't usually dig for that. But just for your casting, I was going to point this out when we were talking earlier about how they look older. Portia Doubleday, when she's in Mr. Robot, she's a blonde. She looks much younger in that show than she does in this movie.
Look old. I thought and honestly,
give her dark hair. She looks like a 45-year-old high school
weird.
student. It's
like she's
good.
got a strange look to her that I'm like, she actually probably should have been Carrie, because she has that could go either way look. Although there were times I think Chloe at times looks like Sissy at times. I don't know if that was on purpose or not within her mannerisms, but she'd never seen the original film before filming this and chose not to, and yet there were still times where it felt like she was pulling out the performance. She does make it her own, especially in the Rage of Carrie scene, where Carrie in the original film is very stoic. She doesn't make a lot of movements. She's really stone, in her position and staring at the crowd. Not a lot of gesturing happening. Where Chloe's movements turn into kind of almost lizard-like. I actually find the remake scene creepier and scarier. It got under my skin a little bit more.
Because there's more happening, and she's in the original Carrie, she's sort of just doing stuff all around. But in the remake, Carrie is definitely involved in everything that is happening. She knows what she's doing, and that makes it scarier, I think.
For sure. I think now's a good time to cut to the remake trailer, and we're going to talk more about the remake right after.
Brightly beams our Father's mercy from his lighthouse evermore. But to us he gives the keeping of the lights of
Pick you up after school.
The other kids, they think I'm weird.
Carrie, favorite poem? Did you bring one?
I don't want to be. I want to be normal.
Wipe that smile off your face.
I have to try and be a whole person before it's too late.
Help this little girl see the sin of her days and ways. She'd made innocent. The curse of blood would
Mama, that's not even in the Bible. It doesn't say that anywhere.
Go to your closet and pray.
No. No! Mama!
You pray, little girl. You pray for forgiveness.
Mama! Let me go! If I concentrate hard enough, I can make things move. There are other people out there like me who can do what I can do.
You know the devil never dies. Keeps coming back. You gotta keep killing him.
No!
Prom is next week. You don't have a date already. Maybe you want to go with me.
Mama, I've been asked to prom.
No. They're gonna laugh at you. They're all gonna laugh at you.
Mama, stop it.
If the two of you are planning some kind of joke on a poor, lonely girl,
your king and queen are...
All right, that was Carrie from 2013. You know, there's lots I think they do well in here. They were trying to do more of a readaptation of the novel a little more faithfully.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, they did make some changes. I think some of that came down to producer choices. But I do appreciate the fact that Kimberly Pierce tried to do as much practically as she could. And when she had to use CG, she used it in a very judicious way. Like when the books are floating around, it's just going to look better than having fish wire, so you can have books bouncing off of
it'll look
the
more
furniture.
controlled.
Yeah.
Oh, which made me think.
And everything kind of moved in a force with Chloe when things would shatter. And they built her power a lot earlier in the film as well. Which I'm not sure if I was on board with or not, but it looked cool.
See, and I like the idea where she's practicing with it. Here's what I want eventually in some movie, just once, where somebody realizes that they have telekinetic power, just shows them working out with it. Like they go to a gym and they're lifting weights with their mind. And they're just getting stronger. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, well, you know, she's trying to understand it. I mean, obviously she's not going to learn anything from her mom. Her mom doesn't tell her anything. Although there was a point in the original, both films actually, well, they cut it out of the remake. It was on the special features. But the original film where her mother says you must renounce this power, and calls her a witch, but you must renounce this power and never use it again. Part of me was like, oh, is her mom right? And then seeing the final result, oh, maybe her mom was right.
I don't know.
I mean, there were often times she was. She's like, they're just going to laugh at you. This is another setup. This paranoia and distrust that's built up in her mom, and unfortunately everybody proves it to be true.
Yeah, but I mean, not completely true. Like, she
No,
does
of
say there are
course
some
not.
good people. Like, Tommy seems decent, Sue seems decent. That's the whole point. But the
she's an
problem
extreme.
is her mother went to such an extreme place, and Carrie kind of took that on. Eventually, when that betrayal happens, Carrie's like, oh, obviously she was right. So her mom is actually pretty much to blame for a lot of the shit.
Yeah, I mean, that built it up in her mind, and she just went feral at that point. You know, her mind just literally explodes, and you can see, I love that use of force and that push you can see on how people react to it.
And honestly, here's the thing too. When we're talking about like teenagers, the ones without powers, they blow up and go way too feral at a moment's notice as well. Like, I mean, they don't, you can't kind of, she has more power than they do, but they still do the same thing. Like, I mean, this happens to her and their automatic response is to throw tampons and pads at her. That's a feral fucking response.
Yeah.
They're no better.
No, not at all. And they just keep building. It's terrible but how they treat her.
Absolutely.
For sure.
But I thought about this.
And they really concentrate on the bullying and the aspect of it and how that modernized with cyberbullying and
that
recording.
Was a good.
Yeah, I think that was a good ad, and maybe part of why this movie didn't quite work as well is because it wasn't quite as public in 2013 it is now.
Yeah.
Of cyberbullying.
But it's also, but I mean, it really did put forth like what would happen. I mean, the realism of it was what kind of really got to me, as I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably what would happen. That's terrible.
There was a special feature on the remake disc that I just adored. What they did was they set up this fake cafe.
Oh.
So they got some actors in to sit in the cafe, and one in particular that had psychic abilities. So what would happen is they had rigged the books, they'd rigged the paintings, and they had rigged an actor up to be pulled up a wall.
Oh, wow.
So what happens is this guy accidentally knocks coffee over her stuff, and it's in her computer, and she starts freaking out about it. You ruined my computer. And he's like, it's not a big deal. And then she just pushes him against the wall and up against the wall, and they would do it with real people walking in getting their coffee.
Nice.
So they would time it for a real person to see what their action was, and they're usually with a jaw be on the floor what they're watching, and the tables would part as she'd just scream and things would go flying off the shelves and paintings flying, and usually they'd run out. I'm like, wow, not a single person wanted to try to calm her down.
Nope.
I'm like, that's upsetting, but at the same time, it was really funny.
It would be really funny. Well, I kept thinking about when I was watching the first one, this just occurred to me. And again, when I was watching the second one, if Carrie could have just gotten past these worst experiences in high school, you know, she could have had the Carrie White demolitions crew, and she could have taken down buildings very easily, very quickly, made a fucking mint.
Yeah.
Without causing any problems. It would have been great.
The strength of her power in this movie, I mean, in 2013, she's capable of so much more. It's frightening, the level of control later on. Even when she's not understanding and water bottles are smashing around her and people are getting pushed and that sort of thing, or even the tampons in the shower get pushed right away.
Yeah, that's a very subtle note.
Early.
You have to look at that, but it's really kind of cool because you wouldn't notice it really if you weren't looking directly.
But by the end, she's locking her mom in the closet and melting the lock with her mind and lifting cars and smashing concrete, like cracking the earth.
I love that bit. I was like, man, that would be so useful.
Mean, she was
again,
terrifying.
Carrie White demolitions. This would be she could be a millionaire.
I would never want to date her because that one day I piss her off.
I feel if she had gotten up and gotten older and managed to get past this hard part of her life, it'd be like, no. If we're going to have an argument, the powers don't come into it. We are going to have an argument. And that's what's going to happen. Because, you age, you mature. Yeah. You grow out of some of the, your dramatic crap that you did when you were younger. You do. You just do. Because you learn how to deal with people.
Now, in the 2002 TV film, like I said, we're not going to cover this much, but in 2002, she actually survives the destruction of the house. And much like the 2013, Sue winds up coming in at the end to kind of calm her down and apologize.
Which I like that bit.
Yeah, and the fact that she was pregnant was kind of a nice note.
I see. I didn't think it was necessary.
I don't think it was necessary, but
I would have ditched it.
It felt like it was trying to set up a sequel with Carrie's mind.
Yeah.
Because there was an alternate ending on the disc where Sue defends her at a trial. These actions at a trial, like try even explaining it, really, right? Which didn't make a lot of sense, so I can see why it was cut. But she has this dream that she's giving birth, and it's something's kind of wrong.
Something's wrong.
It alludes to the fact that the baby might be the resurrection of Carrie. Which is an interesting idea. Now, the 2002 TV film, Sue winds up rescuing her from drowning in the bathtub and takes her out of the house and takes her away from the town. And what was supposed to happen is this was supposed to be a pilot for a series where Carrie would travel from town to town helping people who were being bullied.
Oh my God, it's like the Incredible Hulk from the 80s, but with Carrie and telekinesis. I want it.
Yeah,
I want it so bad.
That's what was supposed to happen. And, you know,
I just want the same music at the end where she walks like, do-do-do.
TV movie is fairly good in its own right. But yeah, that was what was supposed to happen. Obviously, it never got picked up. But there had already been some success with The Dead Zone as a TV series, which is why they were thinking of Carrie as a television series as well.
I see.
Yeah, it also prompted an unsuccessful musical, which they wind up making fun of in Riverdale, which is funny because that's written by the writer of the remake.
See, Carrie the musical would be fun. Just go like full Evil Dead with it, because Evil Dead the musical is great fun.
Yeah, well, it turned out to be a disaster, but on Broadway, but maybe that was the wrong audience.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I get, yeah, true. Like, I mean, it seems like it would be such an amazing one, but yeah, it's not a Broadway. They wouldn't be a Broadway one. It would be like the off-Broadway, the fun one that you don't give a like. It's a Cats. Let's be honest. Cats is on Broadway, but Cats is shit. So it's not a good show. It just isn't. But you'd have it on like the off-Broadway. It would be fun. But that would be amazing. And then she grows up and
just calm down, Andrew Lloyd Webber fans.
I stick by it. Anyway, but yeah, like have her grow up and then become a demolitions expert. See, this really could have happened. But yeah, the pregnancy, I didn't think, I think they only did it because they wanted that bit at the end.
Yeah.
Where it looks like this arm is coming out of her vagina, which FYI, like that's been done in movies dream. And as a woman, horrific idea.
Yeah. And that's, I think, to replace the arm coming out of the grave at the end out of the collapsed building in front of the for sale sign. Again, I don't like that ending in either film. So I don't know, the cheesy jump scare, at least in 76, it probably was scary at the time. It just feels trite and dated now.
See, I think it's because they didn't really invest much in it. Like I with that jump scare, to me, it sort of felt like Sue's guilt was just so overwhelming. And that's why she's having these nightmares. And I don't think they ever really got to that really clearly.
Oh, how could you not have PTSD after what she saw? I mean, you saw the guilt she already had over the tampon incident. And now she's offered up her boyfriend to Carrie to go to the prom with and gets winds that Chris is up to something. Via text, because Chris can't keep her fucking mouth shut.
Oh, of course not,
and has to brag about shit.
It's social media. If you're not doing something that people can look at, apparently you're not doing anything.
Yeah, so she rushes to there, and the coach going, "You're not going to ruin this for you," despite the fact that the coach earlier says, "Why are you doing this? Is really mean to do to Carrie." Even though they thought at the time this was something really nice to do for Carrie.
Yeah.
And the coach just wasn't seeing it. So once the coach sees that Carrie is coming out of her shell and having a good time, she doesn't want Sue to ruin this for her. So she gets thrown out and is unable to save Carrie from the embarrassment of the blood dump.
Yeah. And the other thing too is like, she can also think is like, if I hadn't come up with this idea, this never would have happened.
So there's more guilt. Now she's trapped outside, locked outside the gymnasium as Carrie's rage happens, and she sees everything that happens. Kids trampling the twins, the person who gets trapped in the bleachers, which I think was the Norma Tina character.
Well, it's
Tina.
a guy.
Oh, it was a guy. Oh no, Tina did the full burn.
Yes, and here's the thing. I watched that. I'm like going, yes, this is why you never wear chiffon, because it will go up like a Roman candle.
Yeah, and you know what?
It looks beautiful, but
that
it's
was not CG.
Not good. Oh, well, I looked at it.
They covered a stunt actress in gels, and they did it full burn. She burned for about 90 seconds.
That's a long time for a burn.
Yeah, they had her wrapped in bandages in a lot of places as well, but she was fine. And she did it beautifully. Their firemen were right there to put her out, like actual firemen. And everything went off without a hitch. But I got to
That's a badass
give it to
stunt.
Kimberly Pierce and her crew for trying to make everything as practically as they could. And when they didn't, then they went to CG.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the crowd thing with the wave pushing them back worked so well, because that was several different pieces that were put together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And the thing about doing it practically, it just feels so visceral.
Mm-hmm.
You feel the weight of all of it. When it's CGI, sometimes there's something about they don't get the weight of things right, and it doesn't look right.
Yeah, Brian De Palma, it took 2 weeks to film that sequence in the gymnasium, the Carrie Rage stuff. I imagine it was something similar with this one. I didn't find out how long that took, but I mean, the original shoot was 50 days, and you got to think 14 of that was just for that scene.
You have to imagine also, how challenging is it when you're doing 2 weeks worth of this, but you have to make the blood look the same every time?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's got to be a challenge.
Well, in the remake, they had done a test dump prior to Chloe's scene, and it completely missed the target. And they were like, okay, we don't want to tell her that missed, and they were just crossing their fingers, and then it went off without a hitch during the actual take. And I think they wound up shooting it 3 more times after that, just for coverage sake. But it was that was one of those yay it worked.
We did it. They're more of like a whew, we did it.
Yeah, I love the reaction on those scenes, because how could you not react to that as if it was you just got hit from a height with all this blood. There's no acting needed. No matter how prepared you are for that, you're not going to be prepared for it.
A viscous fluid. It's going to be heavy. It's not going to be like getting kissed on the forehead. It's going to fucking hit you.
It's going to have some force and. I bet you they even chilled it too, just to give it extra shock.
Suck. There was one note too that she also added, like some of the blood comes off Carrie, and people are noticing that. I thought that looked really cool. I like that a little bit.
Well, I like the fact that Tommy was in white.
Yes.
So when it hit his jacket, it really pops.
It really does.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, one scene from the earlier one that they didn't put in the new one, which I kind of liked. It's a nonsense scene. It doesn't make sense, and quite frankly, it's extraneous to the entire film. But in the original one, the tux shopping scene.
Yeah.
It's silly and stupid, but for some reason, I like it.
They did a musical montage on this one, too. But it was with the girls and the boys at the same time. You know, getting their hair done and the little chatter, and they're dancing around with the tuxes and with the hats and stuff. It's a little more music video-y, so it doesn't stick in your head as much in the remake, but it is there.
But in the original, I like the flip where it's like the guys discussing what they're going to wear to prom. It was just a nice note. I think it's a brilliant use of it.
Well, as somebody who's been like best man and having to shop for tuxes before, it does kind of go off that way a little bit.
Really?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
See, this is
it's
part
like,
of it.
Okay, well, we got to coordinate with their dresses and stuff.
It was an insight.
And trust me, for us, it's an arduous conversation, but it's one that needs to happen at times.
Well, it's so weird that you guys go to a place and it's like you're getting temporary clothing. That seems so odd.
Yeah, we don't get to keep it.
Well, not get to keep it. The fact that I would be wearing something that a lot of people wore before me kind of grosses me out.
I try not to think about it.
I mean, I'm cheap, but I ain't that cheap.
I don't know. Us guys are going, when are we going to need this again?
Right? You know what? Just get the tux, and your Halloween costume from here to eternity is just James Bond. There you go. All settled.
Because like my dad's got a tux, and it's got to be pretty old at this point. But
wow,
I mean, he's only probably put it on 3 or 4 times.
Is it like a proper tux?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was, for some reason, every time past a certain year, I somehow think they just were blue or weird.
I like where even in 76 they didn't like ruffles.
No. And I was on board with that.
I was too. Ruffles? No.
Ruffles,
No on the ruffles.
But yeah, like it's sort of, and the brutality of the final kind of, when she's finally facing up like to Chris.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty intense.
Oh man, she always dies in the car, but this was the first version where she didn't die in the same explosion. Like, they made her death separate from Billy's, even though it was still in the car.
Yep.
Her death scene is different. There was something, I don't know if you actually picked up on it, that Kimberly Pierce did with all the deaths in this film of the girls and just the characters in general, is because they somewhat reflected their personalities.
Oh, yes.
So when they smash Chris's face through that, and just like they're shattering her image.
Yep.
And her ego is her looks, and that was something
Absolutely.
that they did. The girls, the twins that were under Chris's thumb, they got trampled like she trampled all over everybody else. Like, they were just things like that. The girl who gets burned, I mean, she only joins the group so she doesn't get bullied herself.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just, yeah. And the ballots. Sorry, one more thing. The ballots.
Oh, yes.
In kind of both instances, I'm like going, okay, whoever was in charge of like the ballot count who let these people do it, they really laid down on the job. Like, in the original, I'm talking, like, I think in
the original, there's the ballots are swapped to make it all work out.
True.
I don't remember seeing that in the remake.
Yes, in the remake,
I must have missed it.
She comes up with the box, and then he pulls out everything that's in there and replaces it with something else.
Okay,
so they aren't the counters, but they replace them.
I was grabbing snacks.
Okay, yeah, I only saw that one, but I remember in the original, this guy's like, well, I could have used you a while ago, and I'm like going, okay, glasses really dropped the ball, because A, this doofus has shown no interest before, B, he only wants to do this one thing, and C, really not sure he can count. So probably not. If he couldn't see through this, glasses really needs to get his shit together.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I think of bullying and all sort of the horrible stuff that people would do, like, Carrie really does hit a lot of it on the head.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people pretending to accept you and then doing something shitty to you is girl bullying 101.
Yeah, and this comes up a lot in the teen comedies and dramas, really, where, you know, they act nice, and I don't know if there were any before Carrie, but there were certainly a lot after.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be horror movies for that to happen. And
nope. Or, you know, movies in general. Maybe just life.
Yeah, I mean, it happens.
It happened all the time. Which is, I guess that's why I'm more on Carrie's side, because I'm like, I get it, Carrie. I totally get it.
The guys are usually at least up front when they're doing their bullying. I remember one birthday they were trying to drag me and throw me in the showers. It was just tradition. I'm like, well, I didn't want to go. And so there were people who got pulled in and a lot of bruises.
Nice.
I did not go down without a fight.
As you shouldn't.
They were like, we're never doing this again to Jay.
As you absolutely shouldn't. There you go. See? Lesson learned. Everybody, all around. Lessons are learned. So yeah, so that you did use the showers, just not voluntarily.
No. Yeah, that was probably the only time I did use the showers.
Right?
And I was wet, and then I had to wear my gym clothes through the rest of the day until they dried out.
I'm wondering if, maybe is it because we're Canadian, our approach to like communal showering in high school is different, or is this just a movie trope that we're not aware is just a trope?
I don't know.
Because I don't know of anybody who had the we're showering after class thing.
There's just no time.
No.
They never gave us enough time for that. I was
you
like,
only had just enough to get dressed in regular clothes.
That's why I always had pit stick in with my gym clothes.
Yeah, deodorant and get dressed. That's all you did.
That's all you really had to do. I mean, I had a towel to kind of towel off as far as the sweat goes, but so I would take that home after I ended every week to get washed. But
exactly. Yeah.
But that was the extent of it. I didn't have time to shower, but I'm also one of those guys that gets in the shower and really enjoys it. So I'm not going to leave anytime soon until the hot water tells me when it goes away, then I have to go away.
Too true. Showers are good. You get between there and everything's so warm.
Get me in the
cozy.
shower. I was like, oh, the next class is a write-off.
Might as well just stay here.
They have endless hot water. This is amazing.
It would be amazing. You probably would, since nobody else is using the damn showers.
In hindsight, I should have used them.
Which also brought me to the point, too, where they're throwing the tampons in the showers. Like, it's not just tampons, it's pads and everything. I'm like going, you know what? Make them clean it up. Because those pads are going to soak up everything, and they're going to be real gross. So make them do it. Like, when they had, was it Carrie White sucks something? It's in the original, in the gym?
Yeah,
and the janitor's cleaning that up?
Yeah.
That wouldn't happen. It would have been the girls.
Yeah.
That's not how it would have gone down.
Yeah. I mean, the principal argued against their suspension, and that was one of the things I appreciated is the coach just wanted to suspend everybody and no prom for anybody, but then it would have been just a bunch of guys drinking booze at the prom. Which
bothered me because Sue can't go unless she has a date, but all the guys can just fucking show up.
Yeah, it didn't make sense when she said you can't go to the prom without a date. I'm like,
right?
Since when?
And then I know some of those guys he's friends with don't have dates.
Maybe that was a rule
going?
in 76, but I don't remember that ever being.
I don't either. Like, what bullshit is that?
Yeah. I'm like, since when was school responsible for hooking you up?
Exactly. And since when was this like, oh, it's a dance, so all the boys definitely want to be there when the women aren't?
Trust me, that's not how it works. We're going kicking and screaming.
That was my question. That's what I sort of figured. I mean, it's like saying, the guys can't go to the football game unless they have a woman with them. It's going to be hard. Any girl can go by herself.
We would much rather been playing football.
But I'm like, yeah, that would be like saying any girl can go to the football game by herself, but guys have to be accompanied by a woman. It's stupid, and it wouldn't work.
Right? Now, there was a thing in the original where they didn't use it often, but when Carrie has told her mom she's going to the prom, get on board.
Right.
And she's dressed, and I can see her dirty pillows, that whole bit. And then she starts pulling at her hair, and she tells Mama to stop hurting herself. Boy, did they go out of control with that in the remake, with Mom hurting herself. Self-harm. She was hitting her head on the walls, and at her job, she was poking herself in the leg. I think in part just to keep herself under control from being too weird.
Well, yeah, some of it's sort of self-harm, but a lot of it
There's a lot of self-harm. I mean, her mom is a poster child for the mentally ill.
Yeah, like her mom has some sort of disorder. I don't know what it is, but the self-harm is definitely a symptom of something much, much deeper. Like there's a lot of delusions, which she's operating under. There's a lot of self-harm, and it's sort of, it's I don't know how much of it is she's self-harming because of penance, like she feels she deserves it, or how much the self-harm is because she wants the attention, or the self-harm is because she wants to exert some sort of control over her life or people around her. It's unsettling, and I wish we could have dug into that just a bit with the mother.
Yeah, there's so much with the mom. I was so curious about, like, why is she the way she is? What happened with the father? Obviously, the genetics come from his side of the family, or they actually allude that it was in the remake. It was her mom's side of the grandmother, and it skipped her mother. So that means Mom was well aware, and based on some of the cutscenes, she totally was aware of Carrie's power.
And but what I could see too is, like, I could sort of see what you could really dig into that with is why Mom goes full God. Like, God, why not me? Why am I the one you've forsaken with your powers?
And Mom says she was raped by her father, or by Carrie's father. Now, given her delusions, what's the real story? Because she's an unreliable storyteller here.
Well,
like, what is the situation that happened? They claim that they were both equally religious, and they were living together.
But they were living together. And see, here's the part I have a problem. She's sort of an unreliable number. I think it can be she was raped and she wasn't. This is how it kind of goes.
And maybe this is where her trauma is. She was broken and in that event and never recovered.
Like, she wasn't married to him. So that was traumatic she didn't want to happen, but also the desire she didn't want to happen. Or there might have been a part where she's like, I can't do this, and partway through she's like, oh, she didn't want it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there was a rape that happened on some level, but it's not... It's kind of
in her
gray.
perception of the world, that any kind of intrusion that's a perceived sin. I mean, hell, she was making up Bible verses. So
true.
I mean, who knows what was in her brain?
Well, you know what? This brings me to another thing, which is this.
And that's part of the story I'd love to see more of.
There's a line in both the movies that I think is the grossest line. It bothers the shit out of me, where Tommy in both ones says like, "Well, you can change your mind. Girls do it all the time." That's very kind of rape apologetic, which I can see. Like her mother alludes to the fact, like, I enjoyed it, I wanted it, but then at certain points she's thinking we should stop. I mustn't do this. But at that point, he's drunk and he's not going to stop. So then you've gone from sex to rape, partway through. So I think there's two allusions to that. So like her mother, again, like an unreliable narrator, but I mean, I don't know what the situation is with the father.
Yeah,
if they aren't married and living together and she doesn't want to have sex with them, or maybe sex is so sinful, even if you are married, she thinks that it's horrible to do.
Don't they dive a little bit more into the father in the Rage Carrie 2?
I remember very little of it. I remember they had a whole thing where when she gets her telekinesis, all of a sudden these like thorn tattoos, barbed wire, like Pam, like very 90s.
And wasn't she another child of the father?
She was like a step sibling.
Okay. So in that version, it was the father's lineage that passed on that gene.
Well, it had to be because the mom died.
Well, yes. Well, but who knows what happened beforehand. But I haven't seen the films, so
I've seen it a long time ago. I just remember it being kind of quite disappointed, and it could have gone.
So the remake switches it
very
back to
different.
The mom's line.
Yeah. But I mean, like, it could have been either. And
we don't know what happened to him afterwards. Like, where is he?
Yeah. Well, in the original, Carrie says he ran off, Mama. You know this. Like, her mother said that your father's dead. God took him. He ran off.
So there are some truths that Carrie's aware of.
Yes.
That she's went and found out on her own.
Yeah. Like, or maybe he left and she was maybe 5 or 6, like old enough to remember when
mom
was
still more clear-minded at that point.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, she's aware of it.
Maybe she was aware of her father. Maybe he was around at least when she was
her
younger.
Mother's mental illness. Her father didn't know how to deal with it. He couldn't get her care. So he just...
Here we are coming up with another movie.
We did, yeah. He couldn't get her care and he had to go away. Actually, watch the Netflix series Russian Doll. It's sort of, I think, the alternate version of this.
Oh, yeah.
Natasha Lyonne. She's my spirit animal. Love her.
Yeah, from Orange is the New Black. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen the trailer.
She's wonderful in Russian Doll. But yeah, there's just the mother's story. It's weird where it's like religious. I think the religion thing is something that she sort of grew up with, but her mental illness really exacerbated any problems that were inherent in how she was raised.
Yeah. Now, do you think there's like a theme of power corrupts in this film as well? Because, as Carrie's, I don't think she's an evil person, but as she gets more confident, that confidence is because of the growth of her abilities, and she knows she can use that to stand up for herself.
True. But I mean, ultimately it was...
Like,
I felt it
if
was...
she hadn't died at the end, what would she have become?
And I think when we talk about like Sue, if that friendship had sort of grown and she'd sort of been able to get past this, if the prom hadn't happened, if the pig's blood hadn't happened, if none of this had happened, I think she probably could have grown up and gotten beyond it. I mean, honestly, probably you will shift a little bit too much where she'll like abuse it. But there probably would be a trigger where she's like, oh, no, I'm abusing this. Gotta go back to center.
Well, considering what happens in the gymnasium, you would think there'd be some sort of PTSD from that. I mean, this loss of control, she should be very afraid of her power after that.
Well,
but she doesn't seem to like...
In the remake, they sort of allude to it when she looks at her hands and she's like, oh, what have I done?
Yeah, she's stunted the blood, and in the original film, it doesn't... But then again, I don't know if she's still in shock herself.
Yeah.
Because it was also reactionary, and everything was driven by emotion in that. And most of her power manifestations were driven by emotion.
True.
So there was very little she did on her own. I mean, there were a few times where she's practicing with things, but almost all of it was driven by emotion.
It is in that moment, but in the remake, at least, she's making conscious decisions what she's going to do. In the original,
it feels like she's making choices of how the people are going to die. Like when she chooses to save the coach, who doesn't survive the original film, picks her up, and it looks like she's going to try to strangle her with her power, and then throws her on the stage because there's water on the ground, and she's going to use those wires to electrify him, the water, and that's conscious choice.
True, and like in the original, the coach was like collateral damage. She was like all emotion at the time, and like she really didn't. Everything sort of just occurred. Mm-hmm. Like she just the fire started, all the other stuff started. It just sort of happened. She closed the doors, and like the trampling and people getting stuck happened. A lot of stuff sort of happened simply because she was, this emotional mess.
I mean, unlike the original film, quite a few people do survive the event.
Yes. They really do.
Because she just locks them in after she leaves.
Uh-huh.
And lets the motherfucker burn.
Oh, yeah. When I saw that bed, I'm like, oh.
Oh, it's dark. And it's hard to be on your side, but it's hard to say you're wrong.
Right?
Because these people suck, but not, I bet you... I mean, it was such a small group of people that did this to her out of that whole graduating class. And that's the tragedy of it. There were so many people who just weren't involved.
Yeah.
But they all become guilty and complicit when they start laughing, I suppose.
And it's one of those things that's very weird. It also brings the whole point of like that mob mentality.
Yeah.
Like, do you think like some of the people that probably had never had any interaction with Carrie, they aren't upset with her, nothing, they have no ill will towards her, would have died if it wasn't that group that started laughing, and they're afraid if they didn't laugh, they would have been ostracized, because quite frankly, that's how it sort of works in high school.
Yeah.
If you don't join in,
I was always that guy. I was the Tommy who was being like, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
Yeah.
That was the kind of guy I was.
I was sort of, me, I just couldn't believe anything. I was more likely the person that was being fucked with. But anyway.
Yeah, people only ever did that once to me.
Yeah. No. Not so much. Sometimes for me, but not so much in high school. Definitely from kindergarten to grade 9. But
it's not like they didn't try, but like I said, you only got to try once. Mm-hmm. And then you learned that, no, that's not the quiet guy sitting in the corner is not the guy I should be messing with, because I don't know anything about that guy.
That is the truth. And that should have been, that was, I think, part of Carrie. Don't mess with somebody just because you think you're more powerful than them.
Yeah, doesn't mean that's true.
Yes,
that's a bit of a moral lesson right there.
If you pick on somebody because you think you can, and you think you're stronger than them, and think you're entitled to do it, you might find yourself in a whole lot of shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, you think of this, and then I think of another similar movie. It doesn't have the supernatural aspects, but Heathers.
Yes,
is very much this movie.
Love Heathers. Yeah. Heathers and Carrie just have a great
it's disturbing.
take.
This is the bullied kid that goes apeshit on the class, and instead of psychic telekinesis, it's an Uzi, or something
not so
like this
much.
Happens.
He was
in real
sort
life.
of in Heathers. He was a psychopath.
I'm not saying like Heathers in general, but I'm saying this kind of thing does happen, and it's startling to see. And I mean, yeah, we obviously will lay blame on the shooter for not dealing with things, but it's it's really hard to place the blame properly, because there's so many pieces that you don't know that got them to that position in the first place, whether it was mental illness or bullying or whatever.
And then there's the final piece: is how the fuck did they get their hands on the shit?
Oh wow!
I mean, at least with Carrie,
it happens. Like it's a weapon that is inherent with her.
Yeah, she can't
maturity.
go to a store and get it.
No.
Although that would be great. I think that's what I kind of really was into Carrie. I'm like going, I got my period. I didn't get telekinesis. What the fuck?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like,
I wanted it. I would.
That's why they had to cut that trial scene too. Is because well, how do you bring something to trial if the one explanation is the one that seems the most implausible? And so obviously, I mean, you have to leave that on the cutting room floor.
If it's supernatural, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Doesn't work at all. Yeah, I don't know. I liked both of these movies. I really did.
I did too. I think the remake is a lot better than people give it credit for.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. I think De Palma's a better visionary, but I think Pierce has
a lot of
moments of brilliance in this film as well, and they're subtly done, but it's there, and you got to give her props for that as well.
Like the final moments.
And I'll say the gymnasium scene in the remake got under my skin way more than it did in the original. I mean, I think that's just a case of technology, but that was something inherent in Chloe's performance, I think.
Absolutely. And then the final thing with the house, both of them are great. Both of them are visually great for different reasons.
Yeah, and both of them still I'm quizzical about, because rocks from nowhere showing up.
I thought,
like, what's going on? Is this God punishing? Are we basically saying that, God has been watching this family this whole time?
I always ignore the rocks. What I always do is I think of it like the house imploding, like that Treehouse of Horror where the house decides to destroy itself rather than spend time with the Simpsons.
Yeah, the poltergeist bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I always just imagine that. Like, I think every time I watch this, I don't even see the rocks. I just see the house imploding.
I mean, part of it I want to think is Carrie's overwhelming sadness and guilt over having killed her mother, and right or wrong, this was her world.
Oh my God. Yeah, right or wrong. Like this, there's abuse in both of these movies that they touch on. I was talking
her
about
mom's totally abusive.
Why Chris gets so upset when the gym teacher slaps her. I was like going, I guess she just gets real confused when somebody she isn't fucking slaps her. So
wait, I'm usually used to having sex after this.
I'm usually having sex. Yeah, see, exactly. I'm like going, Chris has some fucked up ideas about relationships in both movies. God, what was I saying? I got off track with that.
We were talking about the house.
Oh, the house. It's Carrie's self-harm is external. It's external things that come to her. So I could see how this is her idea of penance.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess it's much like her mom stabbing herself in the leg or hitting her head on the bathroom door or whatever.
Like through her power, she inadvertently causes herself harm a different way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, that's an interesting thought. Yeah.
Like, because I mean, that's what she's subconscious. Learned. If you do something, if you sin, you must punish yourself.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. Back to the shrine in the closet, which was his own bit of trauma that her mom puts her poor Carrie through when there's a disagreement. Go pray in the closet. Locks in the closet. It's a horrible thing. The Jesus in the remake is bleeding.
See, I thought it was a drip from a pipe, and she mistook it for blood.
And very much possibly was, but we're perceiving that, and that's a foreshadow to what happens to her, which I didn't like, because there were, in the original film, that transference of religious figure was her mother. Mm-hmm. That's not Carrie. Carrie's rejecting that in this film, so it didn't make a lot of sense that was foreshadowing, unless this was God's way of saying, if you reject me, this is what's going to happen to you.
Or
I didn't dig that as much, but...
Or maybe it's like the Christ figure in this movie is not the one you think. Like the religious zealot is no closer to God.
Well, that would explain why she might come back from the dead at the end of the film.
There you go.
The resurrection.
True.
Yeah, makes you wonder what would happen, what kind of figure she would have been. Because, I mean, by the end of the movie, she's floating. I'm sure she could walk on water. I'm sure she could change water into wine. Like, she was so powerful by the end of that movie. If she can harness that in more of an intentional way instead of emotionally driven, oh my God, the things that girl could do.
Like, yeah, exactly. And it would be...
Like, what couldn't she do?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably some chemical stuff she probably couldn't do, but I mean, a lot of the stuff were outcomes of moving A to B.
Yeah, although, I mean, most of her powers were telekinetically driven, although the melting of the lock showed a little bit of pyrokinesis, and at no point do we see that again. Like, we see fire and stuff happen in the gymnasium, but it kind of happens through natural events.
The electrical sparks.
Yeah, so I kind of wish they had not done that.
Exactly. Or just busted the lock.
Yeah, if we'd have seen the lock crumple in on itself so it was stuck, that would have made more sense to me instead of melted.
Yeah. There we go.
Because, that's a different Stephen King novel.
That's our only note. That's our only note. We just wanted it just to be consistent.
Yeah.
And the other thing...
That was a change in how her power worked.
Telekinesis movies, I want consistency in power. Like, she was pretty much able to, like, get that car off the ground, but when she's trying to keep her mom from stabbing her, it seems to take her a lot of effort, and I'm like,
Because
maybe.
her mom has power over her.
Oh, I guess.
Psychologically speaking, and I think that was holding it back. And, she was, at that point, she was in a vulnerable state. She was looking to her mom for comfort, and her mom literally stabs her in the back.
Literally. But what I liked about this, which is different from the original, when they both fly back and she goes down the stairs and slams into that first landing. I'm like, this is odd. This is really brutal. Mm-hmm. It's terrifying. And this is this is the only person she's really known. Mm-hmm. Like, how horrifying is it that the person that's supposed to love you, the only person that you know, just feels that it is their duty to kill you.
Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. That's the quote.
Maybe she killed the grandmother.
Well, that makes me wonder if this was the first murder. Like, Daddy went away. Oh, did he?
Really? Yeah.
Maybe checked under the flower bed?
These are good questions.
Yeah, like, I kept thinking, like, this is not the first time she's tried to do this. I mean, she was almost willing to kill her daughter out of the womb because she thought she had cancer and then gave birth. Like, how are you so naive of the world that you don't even know you're pregnant? But
you've given nothing but Bibles to read for your whole damn life and nothing else, and you're just a big sack of sin.
Yeah, and she
walking around.
Transfers that to her daughter.
Exactly. When people get a little too much into that shit, they can go real fucking crazy and real fucking nasty, and it goes real bad.
Yeah.
A little bit is good, a lot is bad.
Yeah. The cult of Carrie's mom makes me wonder who her friends were.
That's the other thing too. Like I say, there should be, you know what? Even like a TV movie of like the prequel of Carrie's mom or like pre-Carrie. I would love to know because it would be a harrowing tale. I have no doubt.
Oh, I'm sure. Like, okay, if it was, you got to make a choice of whether it's the father or the grandmother, and then write them in the part of that story as. I'd love to see her mom growing up and why she ends up the way she does.
Exactly.
Because we know the end of that story, but we don't know how that story starts. And I think there's a great story there. And I don't know. Somebody tell me in the comments if there is a Stephen King story where he's addressed that. I don't know of one, but I haven't followed Stephen King's novels in years. So,
or if it's even tied into another story.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, a lot of his stuff takes place in the same area. Like, what the fuck is up in Maine?
Oh, boy, what is up with Maine?
I want to go
I know
there.
they changed the location in this movie, but in the novel it's Maine. And, I mean, you write what you know, and he knows Maine.
Yeah.
And apparently he doesn't think a lot about Maine and his people. I think they're very fucked up.
They're really messed
and weird shit happens in Maine.
But I think it's not even so much that he thinks Maine is fucked up. It's the banality of evil that is very much a through line in all of his books.
That is very inherent in his stories, for sure.
So it's like, it's just the guy next door.
I guess the ultimate thing
is... The guy who parks his car outside.
Yeah, was Mum evil? Yeah, not intentionally so, but yeah, because of her... mental illness certainly was Carrie evil because of what she did.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of penance do you have to suffer for that?
Right?
I mean, she suffered a lot before that.
But I mean...
But is that an excuse for what she wound up doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
And that is a case of where I think the ending is justified because you can't really come back from that.
You can't, but I mean, it's I don't know. There's a narrative there about like how do you bounce back from something traumatic? How do you bounce back?
Yeah.
How do you bounce back from when you've done an evil thing?
Well, and that at least is we see that penance begin early with Sue. You know, really early within the tampon scene because she's in there. She hucks in there with as the ridicule goes on, she becomes more and more uncomfortable with it, and then her story of penance is throughout this movie and trying to make up for that wrong. So at least we're seeing it somewhere.
Oh, in the sequel, Carrie, the woman who played Sue in the original actually shows up in that movie.
That's correct. She's the only one that shows up multiple times.
She's sort of the gym teacher. She's sort of the one that sort of, kind of...
she stays at the school?
I think she does. I haven't seen it in years. I think she does. And the Carrie character in that movie, she's sort of the only one who sort of mentors her. She's like, no, I've ran into this before. So she's like, yeah, you don't pick on her.
I've seen the signs. It doesn't end well.
You will not get through this.
So what was her traumatic moment that fired off her tattoos?
She's wearing a prom dress at the time. I don't think it's a pig's blood thing. I think it's something else. But it's the guy from the oldest kid from Home Improvement is in it. I remember that.
He always plays a dick.
He really does. I mean, even slightly in Home Improvement. So, but yeah, no, it's hazy. I need to rewatch it. But it's your usual '90s cheese trying to cash in on an earlier work.
Fair enough.
Make it their own. But it's I don't know. Sue's. To follow, there's two movies. You want to see how the mother got where she is, but I also want to see where Sue goes from here.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I would have been curious to see how they would have fired off that TV series, but given what the story was, I'm like, that's pretty weak. I think they could come up with something better now if they chose to do so. But
I would like Carrie to be kind of out of the rubble.
Yeah.
Somehow she doesn't remember how, but getting herself out.
Well, I mean, that's the part of that final scene that bugged me. You got stones coming everywhere, nothing's hitting her. I mean, we know she can shield herself because we saw that happen when the car tried to hit her.
Right?
And it's like hitting a wall,
a brick wall.
You know, she can totally protect herself in this force bubble. So. Really, at the end of the day, if she chose to die in that scene, it's because she did make that choice. Otherwise, she probably was under that rubble fully protected, and her coming back is certainly plausible.
Absolutely. Cool. This is our fanfic. Okay. So.
Well, overall, I think I enjoyed both these movies a lot. I'd never seen any of the Carrie movies or TV series or anything, a TV movie. So this was a great outing for me. I do give the leg up to the De Palma just by a hair. I think they're both excellent takes on the material, a material I haven't read, but I think they're both good in their own rights. I think the performances in the De Palma are just a little bit better, and his eye for camera is a little bit better, although there are some clumsy moments as well, some clunkiness that he overcomes later in his career. Yeah, it's just, it doesn't quite stand the test of time. And
some audio stuff that needs to be addressed because it makes no sense.
Yeah. There are definitely some things that don't work as well now. It probably didn't work that well then.
No. De Palma's doesn't.
So just because some of the imagery I think works a little bit better, I'm going to give it to his. But just by touch, I think people should be a little kinder to that remake because it's a really solid remake.
For me, and it's only just by a shade, and the only reason is Piper Laurie, because there's one thing that did you notice this? When Julianne Moore dies in the remake, it's more like a death scene. In the original, does it seem like Piper Laurie's just like getting off on dying?
It does. She sounds like she's enjoying it. It's like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, almost
orgasmic.
Literally coming to God.
Yeah, I don't think she ever thought it was anything but a comedy through that whole movie because I did not like her death scene in that movie at all.
No.
I'm like, oh, what are you doing?
But what I loved is when she's coming down the stairs and she's got that look of euphoria, like when she's talking to, like, I'm going to do what needs to be done, Carrie. Like, she's like, oh, I'm doing such, like, that meant she's gone bonkers. And I totally get that in the movie. Up until the death scene is great.
Smile on her face.
Yeah.
Which was something else.
Up until the death scene, that was harrowing.
Yeah. Like I said, both these movies are incredible. You kind of feels like the gymnasium scene comes so quickly, and man, that both those movies kind of I thought would be slow. Nope, not at all. So
there's, like I say, only that one point in the De Palma that's really slow for me, which they sped up in the remake. But the gym scene is it's sort of, that's where the money is, and you're like, it's funny if you were aware of the story, you're waiting the whole time for that to happen, and it's kind of exciting. You're
I had
anticipating
enough awareness of the moments because man, they've been repeated over and over again in other medium, and you know, characters will talk about it in TV shows and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
and
bucket of pig's blood is something.
And I've seen enough horror documentary. Exactly, the bucket of blood we've heard about. We all know that scene, whether we've seen the movie or not. So it was a lot of anticipation to the moment, and you know, because I think I'd stayed away because of that uncomfortableness of how the movie starts with the period. I'm like, I don't want to see that.
And see, that's what.
And it was awkward still to watch it, but that's part of, you need to see it.
Yeah, and that's what I really like about that movie.
Yeah.
And what Stephen King's story said is like, yeah, like you're saying, there's an uncomfortableness there, but it is a part of life. It's sort of like every woman you know is dealing with. That's why we're so like kind of blood. We're fine.
I think maybe that's why women like horror more.
Maybe we're just used to
it on a
blood.
monthly basis.
Exactly. We bleed normally. It just happens.
This is where Stam's like squirming in his chair.
Oh, he should grow up.
He should. He's not here to defend himself.
Exactly. It's just something that has to happen. I don't know. If I designed the whole thing, that wouldn't happen.
Well, I think that's it for Carrie. This was week 2 of our 4 weeks of Women in Horror Month. And so far we're having a lot of fun. Please donate to your local blood drives for Women in Horror, especially the 10th anniversary. And go watch some great horror cinema with your favorite women.
Absolutely.
God knows there's lots of it, and that's why women are so prevalent to the business. And find some that are written and directed by women as well.
So good.
That's so good. And that was one of the reasons I chose this is because you had such great female leads and a female director for the remakes. So
yeah, and it's just. Yeah, it's like a good movie. I know we talked about doing this one earlier, and I'm glad we waited until now.
Yeah, it kept falling off our schedule, and this just feels like the right moment for it now, especially with the blood and the blood drive.
Right? if you're talking, I can't think of any other movie where blood is so more a metaphor. It's in it. It's prevalent. It's like there's so many levels to the blood in this movie.
Yeah, give buckets not required. Just give to your local blood drive.
Yeah,
they'll take it from you. You don't need to give it in a bucket. So.
If you come with a bucket, they are going to have questions.
They will have questions. So do it the normal, boring way.
Exactly. Oh, sorry. One more thing I did have to add. When they had the gas can, when in the original, when they're going to get the pig's blood, and I'm like going, why didn't they just take the bucket? You know how hard it would get all that to get into the gas can with that tiny little opening?
I thought so too. I was like, why didn't you just do it in the bucket and then it's all in the bucket?
Right?
Yeah, I thought that was strange,
the simplest thing.
And it shows you how what a horrible sociopath Chris was, because she was like right up there with the sledgehammer to kill the pigs. So, yeah, nasty bitch.
Yep. Yeah, those are the deaths you're like, yeah, we got rid of people who probably would grow up to kill other people, so we're okay.
Yeah, so you feel okay with what Carrie's decision was there. She deserves an extra special little death.
For sure.
And we deserve something extra special as well. Not a little death, but a little love. Give us a 5-star rating and a short review on the platforms you enjoy us. And please tell your friends and family where to find us. We're in a ton of different platforms. Just Google us, but most prevalently, we are on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, and Radio Public. We get a little kickback from Radio Public, so we love it when you listen to us there.
Yes,
if you want to help out the show, that is a great place to do it. Follow us on our social media. We are on Twitter at Invasion Remake. We are Invasion of the Remake on Facebook and Instagram, and Invasion of the Remake at gmail.com. And of course, don't forget we are on Libsyn as well, and we drop every Thursday on frickin' YouTube. It's a little weird without Sam.
I know.
Yeah.
We have to have like our little harmony.
Didn't quite work on that one.
It just works with us. It just does.
That's your thing.
It's how we do.
Yeah. And of course, get in on the fun of women in horror and look for that hashtag @allthehorror on Twitter and follow @allthehorror18 to find all the other podcasts getting involved in Women in Horror Month. And of course, the Women in Horror hashtag WIHMX to see all the other events going on this month as well for Women in Horror. And don't forget to donate.
True, and absolutely. And if you have like a kind of a lesser known, like female directed or written horror movie that you love, like give us a heads up. I'd like to know more.
Yeah, please share it out and celebrate the women in horror, and maybe we will cover it next year.
Yay!
I mean, we're giving it extra space this year for its 10th anniversary. If you're expecting our Oscar special this year, that's kind of fallen off this year.
We're going to do something maybe different.
Maybe. We'll see. We might react to it after the fact. And but
I'm sick of losing. Let's basically just say that. I'm sick of losing terribly, even though I try real hard.
And to be honest, the ratings on those episodes aren't that great. So for the amount of effort we put into them, this wasn't worth the return.
Thank you, everybody. It's working.
I still enjoy the Oscars, and I'm sure me and Trish will be watching them.
We'll definitely be checking them out for sure.
So, but,
Bohemian Rhapsody, I just heard.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm always interested in the animation category.
Oh, for sure, right?
I want Spider-Man to win.
It's got a lot. There's a lot of hype for that.
Yeah,
it's looking good for it.
It's really good. But yeah, I've seen so little on that list this year, whereas last year I went out of my way to watch as much as possible. But I don't have to do that this year, so I'm just going to guess, and I'll probably do just as well as I normally do.
I know. We guess, and it's only so good. And plus, you're trying to like play ahead of the game.
Watching them doesn't seem to make a difference.
No, like what you like is you're like, this is what I like, but this is probably what's going to get it. The only category I do well is in documentary, because I'm like, what's the most depressing title?
Yeah, that's the general rule. If you want to win the documentary section, find the most depressing title, and 9 times out of 10 you will win that.
Yes.
Yeah. If you're in your pool, that's your little secret hint there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for Carrie. I've been Jason.
He's
still
Sam somewhere. And I continue to be Trish.
And we are out of here. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Red. I might have known it would be red.
It's pink, Mama. What Tommy gave me, Mama. Aren't they beautiful?
I can see your dirty pillows. Everyone will.
Breasts, Mama. They're called breasts. And every woman has them.
Take off that dress. No. We'll burn it together and pray for forgiveness.
No, Mama.
Well, he's not coming.
He is coming, Mama. Now stop it. I'm nervous enough.